Hello friends, today I will discuss about circuit diagram for 220 kV circuit breaker, that is the closing circuit, then tripping circuit, then the indication circuit. The closing circuit of the 220 kV circuit breaker has been shown in this figure. In 220 kV and above voltage level, there exists separate closing coil for each phases. That is, for red phase there exists a closing coil, for yellow phase there exists another closing coil, and for blue phase there exists another closing coil. Since closing coil are different for each phases, there exists an anti-pumping relay for each phases. Now, since single phase tripping are allowed, therefore for auto close purpose, single phase each phases there exists one closing coil. The DC is given in the TB4 5 and TB4 6. There exists a MCB, that is CS1. Whenever we on this MCB by fuse, then the DC will be through to this K71 bus and K72 bus. Now you can see that there exists a trip neutral close switch in the closing path, and 43A is the local remote selector switch. If we select the local selector switch in the local position, then local closing can be done, and if we select it in remote position, then from the controller relay panel closing can be done. A3 and A8 is the contact for circuit breaker SF6 lockout contact. Whenever gas pressure is low or lockout, then this contact will be in NC position. If gas pressure is normal level, then these two contact will be in NC position. Now in the closing coil there exists a LS contact in each phases. This LS are the contact of limit switch of spring charge. Whenever spring is charge condition, this contact will be in NC position, and S1 are the auxiliary contact for red phase, yellow phase and blue phase in circuit breaker unenergized condition or circuit breaker off condition. 94 R is the NC contact in exist in each phase in series with the closing coil. It is given for prevent the continuous DC pulse to the closing coil. In the 94 R relay, there exists in series with the auxiliary NO contact of the circuit breaker. Whenever circuit breaker is on, this contact come to NO position. Now we want to check how the local closing are done. Now for local operation of the circuit breaker, this selector switch must be in local position, and from the trip neutral close switch a closing pulse should be given. As soon as the closing pulse is given, the DC will come from K71 to K7, and from the trip neutral close switch to the via local remote selector switch to the K9. Whenever it's come to K9, then via these two contacts, these are in NC position as gas pressure is under normal condition, come to the TB29 of each phases. There is TB19 for red phase, TB29 for yellow phase and TB39 for blue phase. Whenever DC is coming to the TB19, since limit switch spring is charge condition, this contact should be in NC position. This contact should be in NC position. These three contacts are in NC position. Now the DC, as the DC comes from to the TB19, the DC will come through the auxiliary contact of the 94R S1 to the 52cc. As the 220 kV 220 volt DC fall across the closing coil, the coil energize and the circuit breaker will be on. As soon as the circuit breaker is on condition, the auxiliary contact will be change its position. That is, this auxiliary contact comes to NC position, and these contacts are come to NC position, and these contacts come to NC position, and also this contact come to NO position. This contact comes to NO position, and this contact come to NO position. That is, for red phase, yellow phase and blue phase, these three contacts auxiliary contact come to NC position. Now if I give another DC pulse, closing pulse from the trip neutral switch, then this DC do not come to the closing coil path, as this S1 contacts come to in a position. Instead, this DC comes to the anti-pumping relay. The anti-pumping relay of red phase, yellow phase and blue phase will be energized. If you hold the trip neutral close switch in the close position, then the anti-pumping relay will be energized through its own auxiliary contact. You can see now as the anti-pumping relay energizes, the these contacts come to change its states, and the auxiliary contact, that is NC contact, come to NO position. These contacts come to NO position. As the anti-pumping relay energizes, the anti-pumping relay remain energized through its own auxiliary contact. That is the function of the anti-pumping relay. Anti-pumping relay prevent any continuous DC pulse to the 52 or closing coil in the circuit. This is the operation of the local operation. For remote operation, this 43A should be in remote condition, and from the control and relay panel, if we give a DC pulse from the trip neutral switch, then DC pulse come to the TB410 and to the K9 and to the closing coil of the circuit breaker. This is how the closing of the 220 kV circuit breaker is done. Now come to the picture of the SF6 pressure low alarm and lockout circuit. Here DM is the density monitor switch contact, and that is, it is a pressure switch. If the gas pressure is within normal contact, this contact should be in NC position. This DM is the auxiliary NO contact of red phase, and this is DM are the contact of yellow phase, and these are the contact for blue phase. So these three contacts are in series, are connected with the relay A2, and for these three are connected to the relay A3 and A4. If the gas pressure is under normal condition, then this density monitor contact should be in NC position. This should be in NC position. This should be in NC position. This should be in NC position. And this contact for blue phase should be in NC position. Therefore, A2 and A3 and A4 relay will be energized. Therefore, the contact auxiliary contact for is will be change its state. That is, the NO contact in series with the closing circuit will be NC position, and also for trip circuit comes to in NC position. Now we check the trip circuit of the circuit breaker. 220 kV and above voltage level, since there exists separate pole, this separate pole has separate trip coil, that is 2 trip coil for red phase and 2 trip coil for yellow phase and 2 trip coil for blue phase. Here the trip coil 2 circuit has been shown for 220 kV voltage circuit breaker. Now if we given the DC is given to the TB4 7 and TB4 8, this is the DC2, DC1 given for trip circuit 1, which I have not shown in this figure or in this video. Now if I switch on this MCB, the DC will come to this bus. That is positive bus is K371 and negative bus is the K372. Now what are the auxiliary contacts or auxiliary coil has been given. A7 and 62X1 are the auxiliary coil or auxiliary relay for trip circuit. Whenever these two coil energize, the circuit breaker will be tripped. Now 43A is the local remote selector switch for local tripping of the circuit breaker. This selector switch must be in local position. Now in the trip circuit we can see there exists A9 contact. These are the circuit breaker SF6 lockout contact. Whenever circuit breaker is gas pressure is normal condition, then this contact should be in NC position. The lockout contact or lockout relay has been shown in this figure. Here A9 is the relay. This relay will be energized whenever the density monitor P2 contact for red phase and P2 contact for yellow phase and P2 contact for blue phase in BNC position. These contacts are pressure related contact. Whenever gas pressure is normal condition, then this contact should be in NC position, and also for yellow phase this contact should be NC position, and for blue phase this contact should be in NC position. Therefore the A8 relay the 8 relay contact has been shown in the closing circuit. This A8 and this A9 contact should be in energized condition. That is, whenever the gas pressure is in normal condition, then A8 and A9 and also earlier shown in A2, A3 and A4 should be in energized condition. As this relay is energized position or energized condition, the A9 contact should be in NC position. This for yellow phase should be NC position, and for blue phase it will be also in NC position. Now since circuit breaker is on condition, this auxiliary contact has been changed. These contacts come to NC position, this contact come to NC position, and these contacts come to NC position, and also the auxiliary NC contact come to NO position. This auxiliary NC contact come to NO position, these auxiliary contacts come to NO position. Now whenever a DC pulse is given for local by keeping the local remote selector switch in local position, this is the local position. I make this contact in the local position. Okay, then the DC will come via K371 to the local remote selector switch via tip neutral close contact to the 8 is the now NC position. Now this A7 and 62X1 relay will be energized. As this relay energized, the auxiliary contacts of this two relay will be change its position. That is, the auxiliary contacts 60 A7 come to NC position, this contact come to NC position for red phase. Also for yellow phase this contact come to NC position. For blue phase yellow phase 62X1 come to NC position. Similarly for blue phase this contact come to NC position, and also this contact come to NC position. As these three contacts come to NC position, the DC will come to via A7 auxiliary contact and 62X1 auxiliary contact to TB1 22 for red phase, TB1 22 for yellow phase, and TB1 22 for blue phase. As the DC comes to this three terminal, since the auxiliary contact are NC position and this contact NC position, the trip coil will be energized for red, yellow and blue phase, and circuit breaker will be tripped. This is the local operation of the circuit breaker. Whenever remote operation, this local remote selector switch should be in remote position, and if we give a pulse from the control and relay panel TN switch, then DC pulse will come to the TB137 for red phase, TB237 for yellow phase, and TB337 for blue phase. As the DC comes to this TB, then via K53A for red phase via A7 auxiliary contact comes to the TB122 for red phase, and TB122 for yellow phase, and TB122 for blue phase. As soon as the DC comes to this three position, then the trip coil for red, yellow and blue phase energize, and relay circuit breaker will be tripped. Now for protection trip, that is if fault occur and from the relay protection DC comes to the trip circuit, then the DC will comes to the TB1 21 for red phase, TB2 21 for yellow phase, and TB3 21 for blue phase. Then DC comes to the common terminal, that is TB1 22 for yellow phase and TB1 22 for blue phase, and the trip coil will be energized. Here the single phase tripping is allowed for during the fault if the if any for red phase transient fault, the circuit breaker will be tripped in the only red phase trip coil will be energized and red phase trip coil will be tripped. Now as the red phase trip coil tripped, there is mismatch of the pole. As the mismatch of the pole discrepancy relay will be energized. A5 is the pole discrepancy relay contact. After the time of 1.5 to 2 second, which has been set in the timer of the pole discrepancy relay, the auxiliary contact comes to in NC position. As soon as the A5 auxiliary contact changes position, if the circuit breaker fail to auto reclose, then the circuit breaker, then these two relay will be energized, and these two relay energized, it will further trip the other healthy phases, that is yellow and blue phase, in the pole discrepancy relay. That is the function of the pole discrepancy relay. So friends, you can see how the circuit breaker tripping operation is done. Now we'll discuss the indication circuit for the circuit breaker. The indication circuit of 220 kV circuit breaker has been shown in this diagram. For indication circuit, there exist 3 indication LED lamp for local purpose, that is the CB close, CB open, and spring charge. Whenever CB is off condition, the DC will comes to this via auxiliary contact of S1 of red phase, auxiliary contact of S1 of the yellow phase, and auxiliary contact of S1 of blue phase come to the LED, and this LED will glow. Whenever CB is in on condition, this auxiliary contact comes to in NC position. For yellow phase comes to in NC position, and also blue phase it comes to NC position, and therefore IL1 will glow. If spring is charge condition, this 3 contact, that is limit switch contacts, come to NC position. For yellow phase comes to NC position, and blue phase comes to NC position, and this IL3 LED will glow. Now a CB healthy status is given to the 21 relay for auto reclose purpose, that is this status should be continuously go to the 21 relay as a binary status. Either this binary is not high, then auto reclose lockout will be go to the circuit breaker, and 3-phase tripping will be done from the distance relay. Now how the CB healthy status is taken has been shown in this diagram. For CB healthy status, we have taken the lockout contact of the circuit breaker. These are the contact of the SF6 lockout contact. If the gas pressure is a normal condition, this contact will be in NC position. A3 and A8 are the contacts of SF6 lockout. If the spring is charge condition, these 3 contact will be in NC position. These 3 contact will be in NC position. Therefore, red, yellow, and blue phase, the limit switch contacts are taken in series. Now, gas pressure is normal condition, and all the 3 phases spring charge is done. Then the CB healthy status will be go to the binary of the distance relay. If any spring fail to charge or CB gas pressure lockout, then the binary status will not go to the 21 or distance relay and auto close lockout status will be given to the relay, and 3-phase tripping will be done any single phase or transient tripping. These are the contacts for taken to the remote end spring charge. Whenever spring is charged, this contact will be NC position. Now a DC is taken from the remote end via cable to the TB1 36, TB2 36 for yellow phase, and TB3 36 for blue phase, and from the terminal TB1 35, TB2 35, and TB3 35 taken to the LED of the control and relay panel. Whenever we press the push button, the spring charge of the 3 phases will show in healthy condition or the LED will low. These are the contact for SF6 alarm. These are the auxiliary NC contact. This A2 relay will be energized during normal condition. If the normal condition and this A2 contact come to NO position, whenever gas pressure is come to the alarm level, this A2 contact will de-energize and this contact come to NC position, and indication will show to the control and relay panel as SF6 low alarm. These are the contact A3 A8 for control and relay panel lockout, SF6 gas pressure lockout alarm. Whenever gas pressure is normal condition, this auxiliary contacts come to NO position. Whenever gas pressure is under lockout condition, that is below the lockout level, then this A3 and A8 contacts come to NC position, and alarm will go to the annunciator for SF6 lockout. Now A5 contact is taken for the remote end pole discrepancy relay. Whenever circuit breaker fail to auto close due to mechanical reason or any other reason, then a anti-pumping relay will energize and this come to in NC position, and an alarm will go to the pole discrepancy alarm as in the control and relay panel. And this A10 and A11 is the contacts is taken for the DC supply 1 and DC supply 2 fail indication purpose. Then A12 is the AC supply fail indication purpose is taken. Whenever AC supply is okay, these contacts will be in NO position. Whenever AC supply fail, this come to in NC position and alarm will go to the control and relay panel. Then again motor trip MCB trip indication has been taken to the control and relay panel. Whenever motor MCB is in normal condition, this 3 MCB will be in NO position. Therefore, no alarm should be will be given in the annunciator. But whenever motor is any of the phases motor tripped, MCB tripped, then an alarm will go to the annunciator of the control and relay panel. These are the main indication circuit. Apart from this indication circuit, remote end CB on off indication is taken in the control and relay panel.